In today's video, I'm going to break down the exact step-by-step funnel that we've used over the last 2 years to generate over $900,000 in revenue cash collected. You can see from our Stripe accounts here, we've got multiple from changing location and setting up in Dubai. But we've generated over $900,000 since the inception of the company, which is around 2 years ago, just under 2 years. And I'm going to show you exactly how we've done this step by step, going over everything, how to set appointments, how to close the appointments, how to actually onboard clients, how to fulfill for them, retain for them, etc. So this is going to be a longer video. I'm going to go through this step by step, because the truth is, if you want to hit numbers like this with your business, you need to be able to acquire customers at scale with predictable, scalable systems, and you need to be able to deliver for them and retain them at the same time, right? So you can build up monthly recurring revenue. That's usually how you're going to build a big business in the lead generation space, right? So let's not waste any time. Let's get straight into this, and I'll show you exactly how this works. In order to understand how this funnel actually generates profit and generates revenue, you need to break it down into its simplest form, right? And we'll build from there. So the most simple form of any funnel for you to actually acquire business is going to be traffic that will lead to some sort of opt-in, that will go to some sort of a landing page, which will then book an appointment, and then you have your strategy session or discovery call. This is more so if you're running advertisements, but it's also the same if you're running outbound, right? The opt-in is more just a reply or response. The landing page is more of a lead magnet that we'll send over, that I'll get into in a second. Obviously, you need to book the appointment and then have the strategy session or discovery call, right? The 3 ways you can actually acquire this traffic is going to be through paid media, right? Facebook ads, Instagram ads, LinkedIn ads, Google ads, basically paid ads. Organic traffic, such as this YouTube video, which is an organic method of getting in front of prospects, and outbound traffic. At our company, and what we've done to grow our company, is pretty much all been outbound traffic, as we're a lead generation agency. We've got some organic methods in there as well, but the main way we've been acquiring customers and acquiring clients is through outbound traffic itself, right? Once again, we've got the same system after that. But this is really what it looks like when you break it down, okay? Whatever traffic you're using, you need to use that as like the hook, the bait, right? Whether it's an ad, an organic post, or an outbound message, you need to formulate that in a very attractive way that's going to be a hook to get your prospect actually on the line, to stage advance them to the next stage of the process, right? So whether you're running an ad or you're creating an outbound message or creating content, the bait and the hook of this is by far the most important. The way we do that is by speaking to the prospect's deepest burning pains, their fears, their desires, ensuring that the prospect knows we understand them and what they're going through, right? This is really, really important, especially as you get into sales calls. The more you can speak the lingo of the prospect and you know that industry, for example, the more successful your company is going to be. We usually do this through a HVCOs. This is actually from Sabri Subri's book that I highly recommend. And this is a high value content offer. So this effectively is some sort of lead magnet that you're going to build that's going to attract the customers to get them to the next stage, right? Once you speak to them on their pain, you're saying, like coaches, consultants, I know you're spending this many hours doing this, but we have a solution. That's got the bait. That's got that's got them on the hook. Now, of course, we need to get them to basically opt in to receive a resource. Whether it's outbound or ads, it's going to be the same. It's going to be, I want to send you this resource or this guide or this report to help you with this problem. And then you're going to capture the people that are actually facing that problem and want to receive a solution. In any market, you usually have 3% of people that are ready to buy at any given time and ready to convert, and 97% that are in different phases. Either they're in information gathering mode, they just need more information to stage advance and progress through the pipeline. They're either aware of their problem, but they don't know what a solution is, and this is where you can help them as well. Or they just don't know what their problem is at all, and they need to be educated. So your aim really with this lead magnet is to put the value in front of the prospect to actually capture the bottom 3%, those that are actually ready to move forward and stage advance. They will book a call with you. But the 97% still needs to be collected. They need to be nurtured over time. So even though you're going to be sending these lead magnets out, even though you're going to be getting responses, you're not going to be getting responses from every single prospect in the market. All you need to focus on is capturing the bottom 3% that are ready to actually convert now, whilst nurturing the other 97%, because they won't convert immediately. So we need to collect their details, collect the data, and have them in nurture campaigns to progress them for the long term. But what we're focused on right now is capturing that 3%, right? Because these are actually buyers that will be able to buy from us right now, okay? Once you've sent over the resource, then what we want to do is basically take them to a landing page. This could be a landing page that you've built with a VSL. I highly recommend having a VSL on there because it will help educate the prospect even further. It should show your case studies. It should show what your value proposition is in one sort of sentence, one headline, and prompt them to book a call. So for example, you should say, look, we help companies like yours acquire 10 to 20 new clients every single quarter with our new unique outbound method. We want to send you over a guide to show you how it works. Then what you'll do is you'll send over the resource, send over the lead magnet, and that will direct them to a landing page, which will give them the guide, which will basically be a VSL, and have a booking call link underneath, right? So where you can book calls, so you can book prospects onto your calendar whilst warming them up at the same time, okay? Once you have people who are actually booking into your call, once you have people who are actually booking in calls into your calendar, then of course you have the appointments here for you or your sales team to take. You want to be having around a 70 to 80% show up rate with these calls and about 25% conversion rate for the discovery calls and the strategy calls themselves. So this is what your funnel ultimately wants to look like. What you want to do at each stage is have a hook, high level promise at the very beginning with all the traffic, and I'll show you how we can do that, the type of messages we use in just a second. What you then want to do is send over a free resource that fixes their deepest pains and their problems, and then obviously sell a high value appointment. So that's what the VSL should do. We want to give them a resource, which is going to be a VSL, which is going to prompt them to actually book a call if they are in that bottom 3%. And then, of course, on the call, it comes down to the sales, position our service as the solution for them, tell them what they can expect, what outcome they can expect, and then close them to get them across the line. That's what it looks like at a high level. This is what it would look like in more detail, specifically for outbound. If you're looking to run an outbound agency, this is what we specialize in, okay? So we recommend running email and LinkedIn. So from our outbound traffic, you can see here, we have outbound traffic was one of the methods of traffic. What we recommend running is email outbound and LinkedIn outbound. These are really, really successful and book us pretty much the majority of our calls. So what we would actually do with this outbound, one of the most successful strategies we see that gets lots of responses like this every single day, is using a case study that we already have. And if you don't have a case study, then this should be of your highest priority to find straight away. So work with the client for less money, for free, whatever you need to do to get a case study. And then you want to find lookalike companies of this company to actually to pitch to, right? You can use things like ocean.io to build lists of lookalike companies, which is what you can do. You can also use LinkedIn search filters, Apollo, Clay, but you want to find companies that are very similar. So say it is a AI consultant business, then you want to use these keywords of AI consultant in Apollo or in Clay or in LinkedIn as you're building this list to find similar companies. Then what you want to do is reach out, basically show the case study and say, look, we notice you're similar to this client. This is what we helped them achieve. I think we could do the same for you. Would you be open to seeing how we could do this for you? Or would you be open to receiving a Loom video or a guide, right? The lead magnet that we just talked about. As soon as they've got that lead magnet, then we want to appointment set them into a call. So here's how it'll work. We'll do our email or LinkedIn outbound, send emails on LinkedIn. If you're doing that, you need Sales Navigator for that, but I highly recommend doing it. It's more effective than sending connections. For email, of course, you're just sending your emails as they are. Obviously, you'll get your response, and as soon as we've got a positive response, we want to send them over an asset and pitch a call, okay? Once we pitch the call, if they're open to having a call, then we'll send the Calendly link. What everyone tries to do is send the Calendly link too quickly, and sometimes it gives the prospect cold feet. They dig their heels into the ground. They're like, no, I don't want to get sold to. But if we will give some value up front and actually say, would you be comfortable if I send over my calendar link? I'd like to book some time in. Then that usually gets a bit more buy-in from them. So then we can actually send the calendar link and get that call booked in, right? So that's pretty much the front end of the outbound strategy. We'll just be sending these messages at high enough volume to be able to get lots of responses every day, pitch those calls. Once people have said, yes, I want to have a call or I'm interested in this, then we'll send the calendar link, okay? Now we can also pitch calls through LinkedIn organic. So we run two main methods, it's cold outbound and some organic as well, mainly through LinkedIn. Now the type of post we use on LinkedIn to be able to do this are as follows. We like to give a lot of value up front. So this particular example was around the sales call process and sales frameworks that you want to use in your agency. It was a 5-step framework of what you should do in your B2B sales calls to be able to close more clients, right? One of them was building intro and rapport. Then it was discovery, going on to building the gap, pitching, and handling objections and closing. So I explained exactly how it works, what you need to do. And what I've done is I've added a call to action, right? Which is if you'd like to access the exact sales scripts we use at our agency, comment the word sales on this post and I'll send it over. So this was our conversation. What will then happen is I just posted this yesterday, so I haven't got any comments, but I'll get comments from leads I'll get comments from prospects in my target market that will comment the word leads or sales, right? And what I can then do is appointment set them in the DMs. So I'll start a conversation in the DMs, say, thank you so much for commenting. Here's access to the resource that you were looking for. Just curious, is sales a priority for your business right now? So start a conversation. They'll either say yes, no, we need to qualify to see if this business actually matches our ICP and see if we can help them. If they do qualify, then we'll pitch the call and we'll say, look, I noticed that, sales, you mentioned sales is one of your bottlenecks. You want to increase this. If that does match all the criteria, then we can obviously pitch the call and get them on the Calendly link, right? So we can speak to them. If they're not qualified for one way or another, what you can do is potentially pitch a downsell, which might just be an intro offer for $500, $1,500. That would be more of an info or coaching type offer. Okay, you don't have to do this, but this will just help maximize the conversion of your whole funnel and be able to extract more value out of it. But what we focus on, of course, is more so the qualified leads and getting them onto the calendar, because these are going to be higher value leads. They're going to be able to pay more money and you're going to be able to generate more revenue from this. So once you're pitching these calls through Outbound or through organic and you're getting these Calendly links sent out, what you need to see is the call being booked, right? So check Calendly. We usually hook Calendly up to Slack, so we have an automation as soon as someone has booked a call. If they have booked, great. We enroll them into an email automation software. We actually use one called Active Campaign to do this. And what it does is it will just basically send some pre-call resources and pre-call assets before the call. You can also do this within Calendly itself. So if I go into my Calendly and I pull this up, I can show you exactly what it would look like. But you can create workflows in Calendly, so you can send reminders, you can send automations to make sure that you have a good show-up rate. So if I go to, let's say I go to my our growth session required, let me just go in here now. So as you can see, you get notifications and workflows. So what we've got is 4 workflows in Calendly right now. You can add these really easily, and you can also turn reminders on. I've got these reminders off, email and text, because I have the workflow. But if you don't have workflows built up, what I recommend is just turning these email reminders on. We usually have them on 24 hours before, 1 hour before, and 10 minutes before the call. This will really help maximize your show-up rate. But yeah, what we do is we have these workflows. So you can see we're sending SMS automations and email automations through Calendly itself. So you can see that 1 hour before the event starts, we actually send a text to the invitee. We say, look, just a reminder that your strategy session is at the event time, 11 a.m. today. See you then. And then sent from the person who's actually got the call with them, right? So it might be Josh in my example, who would be my closer, okay? So you want to make sure that that's actually implemented and in place, because you can be booking tons of calls in Calendly, but if you don't have the right automations to actually ensure leads show up to the call, your show-up rate is going to be really, really low, and you're just going to have a leaky bucket on the front end. You're going to be pouring out cash when you could be making a lot more money and closing more deals. So it's just one of these small optimizations that actually have a really high ROI. Add those workflows into Calendly, add those reminders, and just basically make sure that all the calls you do book are showing up and you're having a high show-up rate and high conversion rate, right? If you send the Calendly link and the lead doesn't book in, then what you need to do is continue to follow up. We usually have 3 follow-ups. One day after, 2 days after, 3 days after, and you want to re-pitch the call to actually get them into the funnel. If they don't book after 3 follow-ups, then we usually just leave it and re-engage that lead maybe a couple of weeks later. But what you want to be doing is follow up as many times as you can. Follow up with different sort of things. Sometimes, depending on the audience, you might want to send a meme over, you might want to send a funny message. Something that stands out, a bit of a pattern interrupt, but you want to be following up these leads as much as possible to get them to book in, okay? Once that call is booked, then what we do is we have an appointment setter call the lead up. So like I said, we have a Slack automation. So as soon as someone books in Calendly, we'll be notified that someone has booked in. We'll also get the mobile number of that prospect so we can call them up. We can say, hey John, really appreciate you booking the time with JJ on our calendar at 11 a.m. on Tuesday. Just wanted to see, and then we ask a few questions. So this is the next step. Qualify for finances, intent, and pain points. So we just want to basically make sure, okay, do you have budget for this? Are you the authority decision maker? Is there a need? And what's the timeline? So it's a BANT. This is sometimes seen in marketing. Okay. And this is effectively how we want to qualify these leads. So BAN and then T. Okay. So it's budget, authority, need, and timeline. So we need them to tick all of those boxes. If they don't tick those boxes, then maybe it's not best to put them on the closer's calendar, and we can reschedule another time in the future for when they might have more budget, for when the authority or the key decision maker is actually going to be present, when they have a need, and when the timeline is right. So these are the sort of things you want to be asking on that qualification call. If they're not qualified, either because of budget, you're not really authority, you do need to be the key decision maker, need or timeline, then once again you can pitch the downsell. Similar to what we've done here, where if they're not 100% qualified, you can pitch them an info or coaching offer, something that's a bit of an intro that will give them a kickstart to help them, but not fully do the whole service. So if your usual service is $3,000 a month for managing someone's paid ads, maybe you can do an intro offer for $1,000, which will be a guide of exactly how they can do this themselves. Everything step by step, all of your SOPs, all of your documents, and maybe a couple calls with you. And this would be much easier for them to absorb on the budget side of things. And they may still turn into an actual paid, fully paid client, done for you client in the long run. Okay. But if they do qualify for this, if they do qualify through the BANT criteria, then what you want to do is get the setter to send some nurturing material. So quite similar to what we've got in the workflow. You can see we've got case studies that we send over leads that booking calls with us. So for example, just pressed on the wrong thing there. We look at the email, say thanks for booking the call, I look forward to chatting with you. In the meantime, here's some case studies where we interviewed some of our clients, and we've got multiple links to YouTube interviews with our clients, okay? So these are the sort of things you want to send over before the call to make sure the lead is actually aware of what you do, aware of your solution, and they've spent enough time with you online to actually build some sort of relationship. Because this can't be overlooked. The more someone spends time watching your content or spending time with your company, even if it's through resources and documents, the warmer they'll be on the call and the easier it will be to make the close, okay? And the more educated they'll be of you and your software or your product or your service as well, and it's going to make it a lot easier. Once they've been sent nurturing material, what I would do the morning of the call or the evening before is confirm they're coming to the call. That's what I should get the setter to do. So either call the lead up and just say, just to make sure, I know we spoke a couple of days ago, but your call tomorrow is with Josh. Just wanted to confirm this time still works for you and you're still on for the call, right? It can only be, it only has to be a 5-minute call, and it will ensure that your show up rate is really, really solid. With all of the reminders in Calendly plus a setter calling the leads, you can get close to 90+% show up rate with this system. Okay. If the call is happening, then that's great. If they're a no-show, then what you should do whilst you're on the call in the Zoom or the Google Meet waiting for them is dial 3 times via your CRM, which ours is Close, or WhatsApp. Wherever you can find their number, just dial them as many times as you can. Probably not too many more than 3, but also send SMS and WhatsApp. If they do respond and they can't make it, then try and rebook them. If they don't respond, then we'll put them into an email automation that will just nurture them for the long run. So anytime we want to deliver content, which might be once a week, they will be receiving that. Eventually, they'll come back to us and want to rebook in, okay? But you want to make sure that you're dialing as many times as you can, really trying to get through to them whilst you're on the call if they're not showing. If they do show up and the call has happened, then obviously if it went well, then you'll close it. If you don't close it, identify why the close didn't happen and try and use that data to improve the sales process and the offer. A lot of times it will be due to the offer. It will either be a budget thing, it's not quite attractive enough for them, or they'll have some constraints. But the majority of times, if you don't close the deal, it will be because of the offer itself. You didn't make them an attractive enough offer. So what you can use this information to do is obviously develop your offer internally to make it more attractive. So when you're on the call next time, you don't run into this issue. But you should also potentially around 2 weeks after, I recommend, or 1 to 2 weeks after, I'll just put this here, I would recommend reaching out with an actual new offer for this prospect. So it could be a reduced price, it could be just 1 month instead of 3 months, but you want to try and still capture this lead and capture this prospect because they're in your pipeline. Okay, so figure out what they didn't like. Even ask questions like this on the sales call. So what would, out of interest, what would make you not want to go ahead with us? It's a very unusual question, and not a lot of people ask this during sales calls, but if you do ask that, you can get great intel and great information, which will actually help develop your sales process and develop even the relationship with that prospect, because they can be open with you. They can say, actually, you know what, I just don't trust it enough. I don't want to be tied in for 6 months. I'd rather just do it on a monthly basis. And then what you can do is maybe a week later, say, reach out and say, look, we've changed some things on our end. We actually have a new offer, which is monthly instead of 6 months. Would you be interested in moving forward with that? Okay, and use that information. See, if you have the close, that's fantastic. Then you want to start setting expectations with this lead. Okay, so you want to say exactly this is what you can expect. This is how long onboarding is going to be. We actually have different lucid charts for this. So as soon as a prospect is showing a lot of interest and they're actually ready to move forward with us, what we will do is I have a document which we'll just pull up and show the timeline of what it would look like for the prospect. So here it is. Let's just pull this up. So we have a client onboarding roadmap. I'll just pull this up and say, look, just to set expectations, this is the sort of timeline you can expect. These are the phases: infrastructure setup, strategy, preparation, campaign launch, optimization and reporting. And these are the sort of days that it's going to happen on, right? So they've got access to everything. But as soon as you have them closed, you want to set expectations firmly so they know what to expect from you and you know what to expect from them. This is a really important part of the process, and it will mean that you have better relationships with your clients. Okay, once you've done that, obviously send them a proposal, make sure they're happy. If they are, collect the payment, and then you want to start the onboarding process. So this is how our onboarding process looks like. What we'll do is we'll activate our client on the CRM. This will then start sending out some automatic emails, right? Some automations. We'll also add them into Slack so they can receive everything. But effectively, what they'll get is an onboarding form that will be sent out automatically as soon as they're marked as a client on our CRM. Once they've completed that form, then that will push into Slack for our team to see, right? At the same time, simultaneously, our client success manager will give this lead a call, or this client now a call, through Skype, and set expectations and just make sure they're comfortable and they're happy with everything, right? Once we've done that, obviously we'll add them to Slack, and we start, James and I, my brother, start creating the go-to-market plan. We have the onboarding call with the client, basically look for any information that we might need to actually help ramp up their outbound process. So we mainly work with recruiters and staffing agencies, so we'll be looking at CVs, resumes, this sort of thing that they can provide. We'll go and create the lists, create the copy, ask for approval, and have the launch process. So it'll be very, straightforward, this process. But this is effectively everything that we've done, and the exact funnel that we actually still use to this day to generate our revenue for our business and actually to grow. So hopefully this has been useful, given you some insight and like the background of what a company like mine actually looks like. I've grown this in only 2 years, so it's been quite a quick process. But following fundamentals like this and having flow charts and things has really helped us. But if you're looking to build a lead generation agency like this to help make cash every single month with really healthy profit margins, then what I'm doing, I'm taking on some one-to-one personal mentorship clients. If that's of interest to you and you want to build a business like this, then click the link in the description, book a call directly with me, and we will see if there's a fit. If not, no worries, but I hope this video has been useful and has given you some insight into how we've built the business to what it is today, and I shall see you on the next video. Bye-bye.